stunting. I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will. And before I get into today's episode, I just want to say congratulations to all the Miami Hurricanes that were drafted this past weekend and those, of course, that were signed as undrafted free agents. And I also want to welcome to the last couple of transfer portal acquisitions. All right, Keelan Marion, former wide receiver and special team specialist out of BYU. Okay, we have Bert Auburn, all right, newly acquired kicker from Texas, and of course, linebacker beast out of NC State, Kamal Bonner. So I'm very excited for these new Miami Hurricanes, and welcome to the U, and congratulations once again to all those that were drafted this past weekend's NFL draft for 2025. So I just want to say a few things. I want to go over a little bit about my last episode in which I talked about as a possible game being Jackson Cantwell. Jackson Cantwell had been making a lot of headway with the Miami Hurricanes because he had been visiting here quite a bit, and the fact that you have Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal, your head coach, being pretty much involved in your development as a player is very key, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have predicted that Jackson Cantwell would be a Cane. Now, Oregon is a former opponent. Oregon has been very successful these last couple of years under Dan Lanning. Okay, their offensive line coach, Coach Terry, is a very good offensive line coach as well from this area as well. And not only that, again, Oregon's been very successful, but it's very difficult to take away the fact that your head coach and also your offensive line coach will be very much involved again in your development. Plus, the University of Miami has a very good track and field program, so that is something that is attractive to not just Jackson Cantwell, but also the whole Cantwell family that would like to see their son and stuff like that become very successful wherever he's at. Now, this is the thing. One thing I did mention is that you can't count out the Georgia Bulldogs, even though they weren't listed as a threat to the Miami Hurricanes. I just said because Georgia is a very, how can I say this, accomplished university the last few years, especially in football. And with the offensive line woes that the Bulldogs had this year, a guy like Cantwell could pretty much play right away for Georgia. And we know that Georgia, although they're even struggling this past season with their offense, still managed to make a playoff. And that is something that is nothing to sneeze at. So now, of course, we get a pushback to May 13th as Jackson Cantwell has said, I'm summarizing here, wants to get it done right as far as his commitment goes. He's basically trying to say that he doesn't want to be in a position where he may think about flipping. He wants to go to a school that he's 100% sure meets his interest as a football player, and possibly also maybe even as a track star as well, since he's a very talented shot putter as well. So that's what I'm saying, that the fact that he pushed it back as a Miami Hurricane fan, I am a bit nervous due to the fact that Georgia has been more successful. Now, as far as offensive line goes, I think Miami is doing something really good. Okay, as far as producing very good offensive lines. If it all goes well, Francisco Marinoa, Francis Marinoa, CC Marinoa could be a first-round pick for the 2026 NFL draft as well. And I expect guys like Inez Cooper as well to be making some noise as well as time goes along in the season, especially if the Miami Hurricanes are very, very successful and can finally go to the ACC championship game and even break through and make a playoff game and be very successful throughout the playoffs. So I do think that bodes very well for the Miami Hurricanes. But I do think that Canes fans like myself need to be a bit worried that now it seems since he's making visits to Georgia that the Bulldogs are now currently in play, because the Bulldogs have the current resume to be like, hey, Jackson, yeah, Miami, you might develop there, but we can develop you here too, right? As well, we've had some guys in the NFL, and we've won national championships as well. So, and you will be able to play. You'll be able to play the passer as well, and also run block as well, very effectively. So, I think that as a Canes fan, that's something that I'm like, I do think Miami at the end of the day could close, and I do think Miami at the end of the day may end up with this commitment. But I would not sleep on Georgia. You can't sleep on any team. Last year we thought that DJ Pickett was between Oregon and Miami. The kid picks LSU. You never know. All right. And I remember a few years ago, Trevante Citizen was, oh, it's LSU, LSU, LSU. He picked Miami. At the end of the day, we don't know. Even those that cover recruiting, at the end of the day, you don't know. Let's not forget, Jeremiah Smith had a Miami hat in his hand before he pulled out the Ohio State hat. So he really thought about going to Miami, even though he was very much committed to Ohio State. Mind you, I wonder if the Cam Ward thing would have changed things, if Cam Ward would have, just committed to Miami earlier on, if Jeremiah Smith ends up a Miami Hurricane. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, who knows? But the bottom line is, though, that sometimes you think these kids are 100% down with one school, and they can surprise you, or they can surprise you. So I wouldn't sleep on Georgia. Okay, I still think Miami can land it. Miami has everything going for it. Again, like Larry Bluestein told Alex Dano, you could train here year-round. I mean, you can at Georgia too, but the climate's a lot warmer down here in South Florida. Okay, as well, it's a warm climate. And I do think the fact that you have your head coach who's very heavily invested in the offensive line, and you have one of the best, not the best offensive line coach in the country, as with Coach Mirabal, who's building a major wall. We saw what happened with Cam Ward being the first pick of the draft, and that's mainly due to the fact the offensive line blocked for him, allowing him time to make the right reads and throw it to the open receivers and throw some touchdown passes, breaking all kinds of records for the University of Miami. And this is a school that was known at one point as quarterback U. And not only that, had guys like Bernie Kosar and Vinny Testaverde and Gino Torretta and Ken Dorsey as well. And Cam Ward outplayed them all in a single season. Okay, let's be very honest. Okay, so those are all intangibles that Jackson could look at. Oh, I got 3 years here. I could develop. I could probably start right away. At Georgia, I think you could as well as Oregon. The kid is just too good. But he could look at it and be like, I can make an immediate impact. And the fact that Miami has the quarterbacks of the future already lined up with Luke Nickel and Darion Coleman. But again, Georgia's Georgia, right? Georgia is Georgia, a national championship caliber team almost every single season. Even in a down year, they still made a playoff. So that's something that I do think that as Canes fans, we kind of have to take a look and be like, oh, wow, okay, let's see what the kid says. Okay, let's not celebrate already. Let's see what he says. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know what these young men are thinking. We thought April 30th, it's a Miami thing. He's predicted to go to Miami. Okay, 247 dropped a prediction for him to go to Miami. And he says, wait a minute, let's back it up a little bit more. I kind of want to see what Georgia has to offer. So that's where we're at, guys. So that's how I feel about the pushback of the date. It's somewhat concerning, right? Somewhat concerning because usually you kind of think these guys know where they're going, but apparently he's really thinking about it real hard, okay? And I think he only really wants to do it once. He doesn't want to be on flip watch like some other kids are because, they take some more visits in general. So he doesn't want to be on flip watch. He wants to make sure he makes the right decision. Now, on to Cam Ward. First things foremost, congratulations, Cam. Cam being the first pick of the draft, the first Miami Hurricanes to be picked since Vinny Testaverde and Russell Maryland being the last one. I mean, Cam was well-deserving, okay? Cam was well-deserving. There's been a lot of hate on Cam saying that this was not a very strong quarterback class, that Cam would have probably been yada, 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 maybe the sixth best quarterback coming in last year. I will say this, though. One of the things that has been talked about this past weekend is about system, and the system this, a system that. And let me tell you, Cam Ward, with the right pieces, fits into any system you offer him. Cam Ward, since entering college, right, and from Incarnate Ward, going all the way to the University of Miami, he's been a flat-out baller. His high school football coach really gave him a real disservice when they played a wing T, which is like basically an archaic offense, and not letting him mature to his abilities, where that young man could have gone to any school in the country. 0-star recruit. And he goes into Incarnate Ward, kills it. He goes into Washington State, kills it. Goes to Miami, projected about a third-round pick in the 2024 draft. Comes to Miami, kills it. First pick of the first round. Unbelievable showing by Cam Ward this season. A season to remember if you're a Canes fan, and a lot of coverage in college football. Well, so why am I talking about this? Well, for starters, there's been a lot of criticism about the way ESPN covered the Cam Ward situation, and I couldn't agree more. All right, the fact that they put so much, they barely even showed him when he was picked as the first pick, and the tears coming out, basically because of everything that young man had gone through to get to where he was at, was pretty much overshadowed by the whole Deion Sanders Shedeur situation, in which Shedeur Sanders kept falling further and further into the draft and further into later rounds, or taken away from what Cam Ward had offered, okay, or what it brought to the table. It was a great disservice to Cam Ward and his family that did things basically from the ground up. This is a young man. This is a young man who faced adversity everywhere he went in his college football career, from starting at a university, a small-time university, to Washington State, basically putting up good numbers with no offensive line help whatsoever, which everyone said, oh, Miami's getting a guy with fumbleitis and stuff like that, to go to the University of Miami and just ball. Okay, and just ball out completely. Okay, ball out completely. Shedeur is a very talented player. I was honestly shocked that he went past the first round. Even more shocked in the second round. But the bottom line is, though, there was a lot of red flags by Shedeur Sanders that really did bother a lot of NFL GMs and coaches alike. From what was reported, he didn't test well as far as the interview process goes. Even supposedly an assistant coach who was just a source said the worst young man he had interviewed. Okay, those are all factors. The fact that Deion would tweet some things and so on about possible holdouts, etc., right, as well. The fact that it seemed like he was going to be meddling in several cases. And I know I'm going to get a heat for this because I've gotten some heat for criticizing Deion in the past, and I'm fine with it. But the bottom line is, though, unless you're a first-round pick that is going to start right away, where they don't have to make you a backup right away, if you're a headache, and on top of that, dad's a headache in general, more than likely, you're not going to get drafted right away. All right, before I get heat about Manning, I'm like, listen, Eli Manning, was a projected top 5 pick, and so was Phillip Rivers. So it was easy for the Giants to pick Manning and then switch over and get Rivers. I know it was kind of complicated that season, all right, as well. But Manning was a first-round pick, and Arch really, if you really think about it, didn't want his son to meet the same fate that he had when he was playing for the Saints. When he was basically a top draft pick and no help whatsoever, and he got slaughtered, okay, by opposing defenses. He didn't want that for his son. So we all know the shenanigans about the holdout. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't condone that. I think you play where you drafted. Okay, it's a privilege to play in the NFL. I don't agree with that. But Arch had a little bit more pull, to be exact. But because of testing and so on as well with Shedeur, a lot of teams just didn't want that. Okay, and in many cases, if you're super talented, they'll put up with it. Cam Newton had some baggage. He went first round. Okay, he went first round. So if you have the talent, you're in. Cam Ward is much more talented than Shedeur Sanders. I know that Kurt Warner said that he's the most accurate quarterback in the draft. I don't know if I really buy that, because when push came to shove and stuff like that, there were some situations where Shedeur didn't make the right decision and so on. Cam, they said Shedeur put Colorado's offense on his shoulders. So did Cam. Okay, although Miami had a very dominant running game, Cam had to pretty much play comeback in almost every single game this season because Miami's defense was just that atrocious. Okay, where Cam was playing catch up every single game of the season. The Hurricanes are probably a 4-5 loss team without Cam Ward. All right, so it's embarrassing, and it was shameful, the fact that ESPN didn't give this young man, all right, his time, his spotlight over the situation because of who Shedur's father is. If Shedeur Sanders is not Deion's son, he probably doesn't get this attention because it's the prime factor factoring in as well. He got a lot more attention than I think should have gotten, comparable to that of what Cam Ward really deserved. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Okay. I know it went a little long today, but it's okay. I just wanted to get those things off my chest. And I want to talk about Cantwell as well. Hopefully he's a Cane, guys. Hopefully he's a Cane. I think he will be. All right. I do think that everything's going in Miami's direction the right way. I just can't sleep on the Bulldogs, guys. It's a national championship, collegiate school, and they put guys in the NFL. All right. So that's the one factor that you can't take away from Georgia. Guys, have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like this channel, share, and subscribe to this channel. God bless you guys. Okay. Go Canes. All about the U. Take care.